and very exciting. Thank you for being here for another episode of Be Fearless. It's our 6th episode today, and we have Deb Day joining us, which is fabulous. She is an expert at health and lifestyle and helping those, particularly over the age of 50, to live the most healthiest life that they can. I am Lisa Marie, and I am a primary school teacher, and I now am the founder and the owner of Exquisite Learners, where I help children to learn through online tutoring, and I also help parents to help their children to learn online as well, and they can be the best educators for their children. We're going to be talking about ways that we can become more fearless in life and be braver. And every week we have a guest who joins us to talk about their experiences of when they felt fear and how the strategies and techniques that they used to overcome that fear, and just generally to talk about the good ways that you can become more fearless in your life. I have just got a reminder on Facebook that I need to go live, so I don't know if I am live or not on Facebook. So I'm just going to try and see if I can find the Facebook page on my phone to see if I am indeed live. Let's see. Looks like it's saying be ready to start your podcast. So it says I'm live now. So we are online. That's amazing. And I thought it would be on that events page. We start the live video. That's confusing. Okay, so I hope that Deb Day is going to be joining me shortly. Otherwise, you'll have to listen to me talking about being fearless and my story. There she is, the beautiful Deb Day joining us. Hello, Deb Day. I just had a few technical problems there. Welcome. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. The pleasure's all ours. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I've got some questions lined up that I'd love to ask you. But before I do, I've just told them that you are what you do to help people, and that you mainly work on people over the age of 50 and living the best life that they can possibly live. So everybody has had a little introduction to you, and also you have a Facebook group, which is fabulous. I'm a member, and I might not quite be at that 50 mark yet, but certainly the tips in there help me considerably because I'm almost there. So I wanted to go straight into our first question, if that's okay with you, Deb.
Yes.
And I am just going to share that. I thought I had my questions ready, but apparently they're not here. Well, my first question anyway to you would be, when have you experienced something fearful or fear in your life that might have stopped you from doing something that you should do or something that you really wanted to do? Can you tell us of an example when that's happened in your life?
Wow, that's a good question. And the interesting thing is, as somebody who has always been very shy, very introverted, not wanting to speak up, it was easy for me to defend somebody else, but to speak up on my own behalf was always difficult for me. There have been so many times where, as somebody who wants to help people get healthier, somebody who wants to help provide them with options and opportunities, but being so afraid to speak up because of what people would think of me, I have been my own worst enemy in a lot of cases. So learning to talk to people when I first started network marketing was extremely difficult. I would talk too fast. I would talk too slow. I wouldn't know how to begin. I would ramble and inevitably not be able to convey the message that I wanted to give. So it has been a long struggle to be able to do that. I can remember my first awareness on how shy I was when I was probably about 5 years old, when my mom teaching my sister and I a lesson on money and taking it and going up and paying cashier. So we each had a piece of candy in our hand. And she said, if you can take the money up and pay the cashier for the candy, you can have it. So being the oldest, I was to get to go to first, and I couldn't do it. I could not go up and put the candy on the tray and put the money on the tray. I didn't have to say anything. I just had to do that. I couldn't do it. I just hid behind my mother's leg. My sister, much bolder, no problem. She just went up, money, candy, picked up her candy, opened it, and just walked away. That whole premise has carried on through my entire life, and it has, being afraid to speak up has interfered with goals I've had, with being able to advance at work, being able to do a presentation at work that would have made a difference. It certainly had an impact on my ability to conduct myself with confidence in a job interview. So it has been a lifelong struggle. So that fear of being bold, of speaking up for myself, of doing all those things has certainly hindered me throughout my life. I've gotten much better.
Oh, now that's interesting. Now, what a great story you just shared there. And now I would like to know how you've got better. What have you put in place to make it so much easier as you went through life and you said this was a pattern that you saw? What made it easier? What did you find that really helped?
One of the things that is especially helpful when you join a network marketing community, and for anybody that's thinking about doing that, there are some questions that I would ask to make sure that the company that you are thinking of aligning with do these things. And they have a lot of sessions where you get to work on yourself, on your confidence, teaching those steps to do practice time with strangers. I can remember going to our first event, and they would tell you, because you would tend to go in as a group and sit, and the person on your left and the person on your right is somebody you know, somebody you're comfortable with. So when they give you an exercise where you have to say something or do something, you're already in a comfort zone. So what they would do, I can remember how shocked I felt the first time where you had to get up and go sit with people you did not know. And it was the scariest moment for me. And years of doing that have certainly made it easier. Where you go to events where they specifically and purposefully design an event around pushing you outside your comfort zone. So things like that have certainly helped a great deal.
Oh,
the second thing that I would suggest is not wanting to talk to strangers, not wanting to hear yourself, see yourself. The other thing that was probably the most impactful was going online and doing Facebook Lives. And that made it easier. You have no idea how many of those I actually deleted before I ever kept it there. I even tried to do it at first by recording myself and uploading the recording, but that's not really helpful. When I decided to do YouTube, I had a YouTube account for years. And finally, just at the right time, the right moment, you know, when that window opens and you're wondering whether you should go, or that door opens, you wonder whether you should walk through. I did. And across my feed in Facebook came an opportunity for a 5-day free intensive course on YouTube. I think this is it. I will do this. I learned so much. But they gave homework. And they said, what you have to do for homework is you have to record a YouTube video. And I thought, I have no idea what I would say, no idea what I would do. And I struggled with doing that. And I thought, it doesn't matter because nobody's going to see it. It's just me. The next day, as part of the process for creating a YouTube video, is you have to launch it. So then I had to make my video live. I had to put it up on the channel and do it. So all of a sudden, people are going to see me. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I was so upset. And I thought, you know, nobody knows I have a YouTube channel out there. Who's going to watch one video on an unknown channel? And it will be a stranger and I will never hear about it again. So I thought, I can do this. So I launched it. The next day, guess what the homework was? We had to promote it. And the homework was I had to go out and find 5 different ways across 5 different social media platforms and including email. I had to find 5 different ways to promote my video. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, email, direct message. It's only been recently that I have been putting my videos out on my own personal feed after a year plus of doing YouTube. I still wasn't putting it on my own feed. I did it in my group. I did it across Twitter. I don't have a big following there. I don't have a big following on Instagram. So my exposure was limited. I did send out a few messages. And that's probably the biggest thing that has pushed me outside my comfort zone. And almost 80 videos later, it still causes a little butterfly every time that I have to do that, every time I record, every time I send it out there. But at least now I'm at the point where there's no hesitation about whether I am going to do it. And the people that want to watch will watch, the people that don't, won't. And I will just continue trying to deliver my message to serve those that will gain something from it. The YouTube channel is geared towards 50 and older, but my Facebook group is not. It's for anybody, any age. The work I do as a network marketer does not have an age limit. It helps everybody. But what I found with the YouTube was that there is missing information for people over 50 on their health and fitness nutrition. And the need to share that information drove me beyond my fear of that public exposure.
Mm. Do you know, it's so inspiring. What I take from your story is you said, you know, you had that chance of going through the window, through the door, and you chose to go through the door. So then I'm thinking, what was it that made it the right time to make you choose to go through the door? And then as I was listening to you, you answered my question. Because when the next thing came up, you did the same thing. And it was all about positive self-talk. You weren't letting those negative thoughts come in. You weren't thinking, I'm not going to go through that door. I'm not ready. You weren't thinking, oh, I didn't know we were going to have to do this homework. Oh, well, I'm bailing now. None of those thoughts. You changed those. You didn't stop them from coming in. You changed them with positive reinforcement of yourself, of your ability, of your belief in yourself, so that you were able to do those things that were scary, that you were fearful of. And when you did them, how did you feel? Did you still feel fearful when you were in the moment, or did you have some sense of, this isn't quite as bad as I thought?
Still fearful. If you go back and look at the first videos, what might come across as a very serious face, because I would accredit a lot of that to my career and the roles that I played that were very serious, high stress roles. I come across that way in a lot of the videos in the beginning. And, you know, when you're watching yourself, you think, oh, I have to learn to get my bubbly back, because my personality can be bubbly with the people that I'm comfortable with. And it's taken some time. And when you are afraid to put yourself out there and you're worried about what people think, sometimes the biggest challenge is what we actually think about ourselves. So the exercise that has been the most invaluable, and I probably wouldn't have been giving this answer a year and a half ago, almost 2 coming up now, is that when you have to edit that video, and you know exactly what I'm going to say next, when you have to watch your face over and over and over, and your expression over and over and over, and your voice, when most of us don't like the sound of our voice, when we hear it for the first time, it always sounds different to us than we think it might sound to someone else. But hundreds of hours of editing, and you start picking apart yourself and learning to do that without being overly critical, because we are our own worst critic, I think was probably the biggest exercise in self-love that I have ever gone through, where listen to it from the perspective of somebody that's just editing it. What do you want to cut out? What do you want to improve? All of those things. So learning to love yourself through it all is incredibly important. And then you'll find that I can accept who I am, how I am. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But the self-love becomes very evident. And the desire to serve others, the desire to help other people, knowing that you can help them feel better and that you had a role in some small way in the quality of their life is so powerful that it's easy to put fear aside. But you know, that's got to come with some self-confidence and self-acceptance as well.
I absolutely love that. And I think what you say is so important, that when you are going back and looking at yourself and you're editing, you know, you have to be kind, and you can almost, I know from my personal experience that I try to desensitize myself away from the fact that it's me. And what I tend to do is try to make it all about the person that's watching. And like you say, there's nothing better than feeling that you can help someone. And if you make it about your audience, just like you have, rather than worrying about how the audience is perceiving you, then it makes it a lot easier to like yourself, because you're doing something good. And so it stops you from all of that other stuff, doesn't it, that you might say when you're watching yourself. Oh, it doesn't take it all away, but it can certainly temper it. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Deb. I hope that's really helpful to some people. I wanted to say, ask you, I know you still have some fears over when you switch the camera on, but is there something else in your life that's causing you fear now, but you've either stepped up and grabbed it and went for it, or you're still slightly fearful and you're finding ways that you can deal with it?
There's no question that someday I would love to be able to be a keynote speaker. When I used to go to events for my work, and you know, when you go into this big event, they're live and they've got the big round tables that will seat, you know, 8, 10, 12 people. I was so shy that I would find the back table with the back seat so that everybody was in front of me. Nobody could see me. To me, that was the easiest way for me to remain in the shadows. I can remember the first keynote speaker that I ever heard. And, throughout the years, I've heard some good ones and I've heard some not so good ones, but he was particularly good. Now, I can't even remember who it was, but I remember thinking, someday I would like to be able to do that. Now, it's not the point that I would want to be on stage per se, but to be able to go up and have the confidence that he had, the ease that he had, his ability to connect with the audience the way he did. I wanted then, and there's a part of me that still does, to be able to do that, because it would mean that I have gotten past being that shy, that I have gotten past being so afraid to speak up in front of others. There's a part of me that still wants to do that. The fear would be, am I good enough? Would I be able to engage the audience and keep them engaged the way I have heard so many amazing speakers do? And there's a part of me that still says, I don't know if I can do that. What would I talk about? I don't have a story. I don't have anything to say. So these are the things that I still hear in my head. And obviously, if I'm ever going to walk across that stage with a microphone in my hand, then I have to get past that too. So being fearless is a work in progress. It's a journey. And all we can ever hope to do is to be brave enough to continue to take one step at a time.
Yeah, no matter how small, isn't it?
Mhm.
That's it. One step towards it, going through that door, opening that door, and even perusing it, is the first step. And then going through and then staying through. Yeah, definitely. Everybody lives with some fear that it's always going to be there, that they're going to be working on overcoming something. That's amazing. The other thing I noticed when I was listening to what you were saying earlier, when you talked about when you first wanted to be able to speak out, I couldn't help thinking, I bet you wish there'd been something like Global Speakers Talk at the time that you could have joined, because to have that forum where you can be in a safe group and be able to go on live for a minute and just say, hey, my name is so-and-so, this is the first time I've been live, I'm scared, that's it. And then the next day you come on and you say a bit more. And when you've done it 30 days in a row, it's amazing how quickly that confidence grows. So yeah, you sort of did it a different avenue, didn't you? And it worked for you, but that's what's available to people now as well, for those who are finding it.
So it's a wonderful group for doing that. And it's precisely the reason that I did join it, because if we go to do a Facebook Live and we want to be able to speak without stammering, without those pauses about what am I going to say next, or learning to have that live without rambling. How can I learn to be concise? How can I learn to get my message across without driving everyone crazy and boring them to tears? You want to be able to have that impact where when that live pops up on online, that you actually want to click it and go listen to it. So it is a beautiful place to go in and to learn to do that. So quite often now, when I'm in that frame of mind, I will go and I'll do a live in Global Speakers. I'll then turn and go and do a live on my group, or I'll do a live somewhere else, so that I'm just going from one to the other. And the message might change slightly, and that's okay, because I need to be able to shift gears. I need to be able to do that in a concise way, so that if I'm ever in a scenario where you get those questions after a keynote speech, how are you going to handle those questions? You've got to come across answering those questions in the same confident way that you actually delivered your presentation. So how would I handle that? So quite often I'll put myself through that exercise of switching gears. And while you can't do that in one Facebook Live, I have done that by going and doing a number of different Facebook Lives in different groups that have different purposes.
Yeah, that's great advice, actually, to do that. And I think you made a very valid point there. It's one thing when you learn to say what you want to say, to get out there to everybody, but then it's another skill to then learn to be able to accept that you don't know what's coming when people ask you questions.
Mhm.
And that can be the next level of fear for people when they're speaking out. But just to mention about the global speakers talk as well, is I think the reason why it is so good is because the community is so supportive, and you get feedback and you get encouragement. So if you are only just going there for the first time, you know, that's the place to be. And it's a private, secure place with just the members. So when you feel, it's a bit like a little fledgling, you know, when he first finds his wings, and then he can go fly off to his own Facebook group and then put themselves out there, you know, on the live. So yeah, brilliant. Thanks for sharing all of this today, Deb. It's been great. I think that I would like to find out from you what big piece of advice, or what was one thing that you really, really want to tell our audience about what they can do to live more fearlessly, and to not stop fear, not let fear, stop them from reaching for their dreams, and to not stop it from letting them do anything that they hope to do in order to get the transformation that they want. What would you say to them?
I think the first thing is to get out of your head. We talk ourselves out of so many things. And there's no question that our brain gives us messages all the time, because its job is to protect us. And while we can't just go in and say, stop it, I don't want to hear, or I don't want to listen to you, tell yourself, I know, when that person on your shoulder is speaking, I know that you're trying to protect me, and I appreciate it, but I've got this, and I'm going to try. And if you stay out of your head and do it before you talk yourself out of it, and just remember, it's one step at a time. And you will find that after a while, the space and the pace at which you take those steps becomes more confident and clear. So it's one step at a time, and stay out of your head.
That's great. And it's in line with everything that you did, isn't it? Self-talk. So amazing. Thanks, Deb, for joining us today. I hate that we're out of time, because I could talk to you for hours, but you know that, because I do sometimes. But yes, that was just fantastic. And I'm so glad you were able to join us today. We're blessed to have you. I hope everyone out there enjoyed our chat today about being fearless, and that you got some help from our conversation. If you could share this with others and let them know that we're on every Tuesday. This is episode 6. Next week we'll be inviting another guest to join me, and we'll talk more about their story and their strategies and their ways of going towards their dreams. So please join us next time on Tuesday at 11 a.m. If there's a time change, I'll let you know, because sometimes we have to allow for people in different time zones. But we've had a lovely day today with Deb, who didn't have to get up too early because we adjusted the time to suit. So thank you so much, Deb. And we'll say bye-bye to everybody. Thanks for watching. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.